Hey everyone, today we're jumping into a totally wild hypothetical question from a viewer named Trevor. Seriously, this one is going to push what we think we know about nature's power right to the very edge. So let's just get right into it. So what if you could take every single lightning bolt that strikes anywhere on Earth in a 24-hour period and have them all hit the exact same spot at the exact same time? It's a crazy thought, right? So let's break it down, and we'll start by busting a really common myth. You know the saying, right? Lightning never strikes the same place twice. We've all heard it. Well, it's just plain wrong. And honestly, knowing why it's wrong is the first step to understanding just how powerful, and maybe not so powerful, lightning really is. Okay, so if lightning can hit the same spot over and over, you've got to wonder, why can't we just, stick a giant plug in the ground and power our cities with it? It seems like this unbelievably huge source of energy. But that's kind of the big myth we need to get into. The idea of harnessing a thunderstorm is, well, it's way more complicated than you think. So let's do a little comparison. You've got the super dramatic, flashy, explosive power of a lightning bolt, and then you've got the quiet, steady energy that comes from the sun hitting the ground. Now, you'd probably bet on lightning being the more powerful of the two, but you would be shocked at how massive the difference actually is. Yeah, a million times. The energy that sunlight delivers to the Earth's surface is, on average, a million times greater than all the energy from every lightning strike combined. It sounds completely backward, but it actually makes perfect sense when you remember that lightning is really just a side effect of solar power, right? The sun heats the planet, that dries our weather, and that's what creates the storms. To bring it down to a single bolt, one typical lightning strike has enough juice to power an average house for about 2 days. Think about the Empire State Building. That thing gets zapped by lightning about 100 times a year. But even if you collected all of that energy, it still wouldn't be enough to power one single home for that whole year. And this right here, this analogy just says it all. Trying to harvest lightning for energy, it's like trying to build a wind turbine that only runs on tornadoes. I mean, sure, the power is insane, but it's completely chaotic, totally unpredictable, and it's over in a flash. It's a super cool idea, but in reality, it's just not practical. All right, so we've established that a single lightning bolt isn't going to solve our energy crisis. But that's not what Trevor asked. He asked about all of them at once. So now let's get to the fun part. What happens when we create this imaginary megabolt? So on any given day, how many strikes are we actually talking about? The number is about 1 million. Just try to wrap your head around that for a second. We're taking 1 million separate lightning strikes and literally weaving them into one single gigantic bolt. And this monster bolt, where's it going to land? Well, the channel of electricity itself would be about 20 feet wide. So to give you a picture you can actually see in your head, imagine the center circle on a basketball court. That's it. That's our ground zero. And the energy release? How do we even measure that? Well, let's put it this way. Our megabolt would release about twice the energy of the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. Yeah, we're talking about that level of force. So what could you actually do with that much energy? Well, you could power the entire United States for about 5 minutes, or if you wanted to get personal with it, you could power your TV and your game console for a few million years. It's this incredible but incredibly short burst of power. Okay, the numbers are mind-bending, but forget the numbers for a second. What would it actually be like standing anywhere near this thing? Let's talk about the raw physical destruction at ground zero. It would all happen in less than a blink of an eye. First, the air inside that 20-foot-wide channel would instantly turn into plasma, hotter than the surface of the sun. The impact itself would just vaporize the ground, blasting out a crater the size of an entire basketball court. And the shockwave? This shockwave would flatten trees and buildings for miles in every direction. So you might be thinking, okay, but what about a lightning rod? We use them all the time to keep buildings safe. What if we just built a really, really big one? Surely that could contain it and channel it into the ground, right? Not a chance. Not even close. Even if you built a solid copper cable 3 feet thick, it couldn't handle the surge. For a split nanosecond, maybe it would conduct the current, but whatever you tried to ground it to would just cease to exist. You'd get a catastrophic explosion that would vaporize the cable, the grounding point, and anything else nearby. Okay, so this global megabolt is thankfully just a hypothetical. It can't happen. But what's so cool is that there's a real place on Earth that gets pretty darn close to this kind of relentless lightning storm. So let's go from our impossible scenario to a very real and very, very electric place. So our hypothetical was a million bolts all at once. Impossible. But check this out. Over Lake Maracaibo in Venezuela, they have these things called the Catatumbo thunderstorms. And on some nights, there's a flash of lightning almost every 2 seconds, for hours.
And this isn't a freak occurrence. It happens pretty much every night because of the really unique weather patterns over the lake. These non-stop storms make this one little spot in Venezuela, without a doubt, the lightning capital of the world.
And get this, remember that TV and game console from earlier? If you could somehow capture all the energy from just one night of the Catatumbo storms, you'd have enough power to run that setup for an entire century, 100 years of gaming from one night storm. So I think we need to update that old saying. Maybe the real truth is that lightning always strikes in the same place. And that place is in Venezuela, and you probably shouldn't stand there. What a wild thought to end on.